All right, you guys, so we're going to start reading Homer's The Odyssey. Our translation is by Robert Fitzgerald, and I formatted each of the episodes the same way. So you can see up here in red font, I've given you some information that I want you to read prior to reading the actual episode of Epic Poetry. On the other documents, I do have them squared in. They're italicized, and they say read this first so that you know to read it first. It will give you important information about what's to come. Additionally, you guys can see that all of the lines of the epic poem are numbered, and that's so that we can cite our epic poetry when we start creating our parenthetical citations. So as I scroll down, you can see that each line, every 5 lines is numbered. So that's how you guys will cite that epic poetry like I showed you. And then I've also included definitions of some difficult vocabulary. So for example, in this first episode or tell the story, I've highlighted the word contending, and then I also defined it for you to the right. It means fighting or dealing with difficulties. So that is the same in all of the episodes that you guys will be getting from Schoology. Let's see, I think that's all I want to tell you about that. Now, as I'm reading, I'm going to do kind of a read aloud, so I'll probably stop periodically, maybe ask questions or think out loud to myself as I'm reading the story. So just follow along with me, please. This is The Odyssey, Part 1, Homer, translated by Robert Fitzgerald. Tell the story. Now, Homer opens with an invocation or a prayer. So basically, he's asking his muse, and his muse is Athena. She is the goddess of wisdom and war, to help him sing his tale. Now, he also hints or he foreshadows about how his story will end. So we're going to learn some information about Odysseus and his journey. Additionally, we know he's on a hero's journey, and we know the stages and steps of that journey. So we know eventually for him to complete this, he needs to return home with some sort of a boon, transform in some way, and then he will be transformed into that true hero. All right, so we will start with line 1. Again, this is Homer asking Athena to help him tell the story. Sing in me, muse, and through me tell the story of that man skilled in all ways of contending, the wanderer, harried for years on end after he plundered the stronghold on the proud height of Troy. Now, who is Homer asking or referring to as far as this man who is skilled in fighting? Good. Yep, it would be Odysseus, the hero on his journey. Line 6. He saw the townlands and learned of the minds of many distant men and weathered many bitter nights and days in his deep heart at sea, while he fought only to save his life, to bring his shipmates home. But not by will nor valor could he save them. So there's a little hint that we see. He's not going to be able to save these shipmates from coming home. Because, and here's where we find out why. For their own recklessness destroyed them all. Children and fools, they killed and feasted on the cattle of Lord Helios, the sun. And he who moves all day through heaven took from their eyes the dawn of their return. Of these adventures, Muse, daughter of Zeus, tell us in our time, lift the great song again. Begin when all the rest who left behind them headlong death in battle or at sea had long ago returned, while he alone still hungered for his home and wife. Now again, we learned earlier that Odysseus did fight in the Trojan War, and he's still lost at sea. He'd be considered basically missing in action today. And so he wants to get home to Ithaca to his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus. All right, line 22. Her ladyship Calypso clung to him in her sea-hollowed caves, a nymph, immortal and most beautiful, who craved him for her own. So she's a gorgeous nymph, and that's where we're going to see our story start, where Odysseus is staying there. He's basically held captive. And she is immortal, so she will never die, and gorgeous. And she really likes him. She wants him to stay with her, so she craves him for her own. Line 25. And when long years and seasons wheeling brought around that point of time ordained for him to make his passage homeward, trials and dangers even so attended him, even in Ithaca, near those he loved. So we know here from these lines a few things. I want you to take a minute and talk with a partner about what we know as far as Odysseus and his journey is concerned, and think about the hero's journey. All right, good. Now we're going to start with line 30. Yet all the gods had pitied or felt sorry for Lord Odysseus, all but Poseidon. And Poseidon is the god of what? Good. The god of the sea. He's raging cold and rough against the brave king till he came ashore at last on his own land. So now we know he has returned at the end of this to Ithaca at his own land.